Could we start by each of you giving your name and your title, please?
My name is Pieter DeWall. I'm Vice President of BMW Motorrad USA.
My name is David Robb. I'm Vice President of Design for BMW Motorrad.
Now, Pieter, I believe today you're going to introduce to the press the all-new K1600GT and GTL. Is this correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, could you give us an overview of the models and also tell us who the target customer is?
Well, we're very excited to have these two motorcycles here. We are specifically excited because we know we break new ground again. The motorcycles are packed with technology which hasn't been used before or hasn't been used successfully before. And I think the biggest feature of the motorcycle, or both motorcycles, is that it uses an inline six-cylinder. Why inline six-cylinder? Because of the beautiful sound, the smoothness, and of course the wonderful torque that the engine delivers. In the past, this engine was not really used because it's got a major challenge in terms of the packaging, but what the new technology and the engineers have done is that they've managed to build an extremely compact engine, and therefore you could in fact build an inline six successfully into a luxury touring. The next big feature of the motorcycle is that it's got a communication system which is pretty unique, in that it communicates between a rider, the pillion, and the motorcycle in a wireless way, and also in an effortless way. And it communicates all sorts of areas, whether it be audio like satellite radio or your iPod or any of the thrills that the modern people need, or the telephone, the mobile, as well as, of course, intercom and all the other features that you would expect. The motorcycle is also fitted with a controller, and this controller makes it possible for you to call up a multitude of functions by using just this one controlling switch, which is on the left-hand handlebar, and that you can change the modes with, and you can really scroll through all sorts of functions. So it allows you to have a motorcycle where you have all this technology, you can operate all this technology, but you can do it while all the time concentrating on the road and not having to look down and trying to find all these switches, which is on a conventional motorcycle the case. The third of the very many new innovations on the motorcycle that I just want to highlight is the adaptive headlight. And this is a first and very unique for a motorcycle. You know that our motor cars are already pretty fancy in that the light, when you steer the steering wheel, the light turns that way, and therefore you can see where you're going, and not sort of the light doesn't follow the car. Well, in a motorcycle it's much more complex, because the motorcycle of course leans through the corner, and what that does on a conventional motorcycle is that not only does the light drags behind the corner, but it also totally dips away, and therefore if you're on a twisty road at night with a motorcycle, you can hardly see a thing. Well, with this new adaptive headlight, it works on a gyroscopic principle, and that basically means that the light is both proactive in that it leads the motorcycle in the corner, and irrespective of the lean angle of the motorcycle, the light retains the same height, and therefore you've got an absolute stable beam like you would find on a car. And that could change, of course, the way that people now perceive riding motorcycles at night.
Well, I'm one for the adaptive headlight because I do more night riding than just about anybody on the face of the planet.
And that's so we call you Night Rider.
Yes, yes. Is this something that, based on either its size or the cost of it, that we'll see in other mainstream motorcycles?
David, you are on the design side, so maybe I would like to leave this to you.
Yeah, it's cutting-edge technology, and is often the case. New technologies needs to be invested in. We're looking at it in this area, in this type of motorcycle, because it's really the type of thing that fits well also for this type of riding, touring riding. Certainly, I don't see it in short time being on all motorcycles, simply because there's going to be package problems with naked bikes. There'll be lots of other things. So it's one technology which is fascinating, offers a new amount of comfort and safety. We're looking at it, where will it be, where could it be put to use? But among other things, it's also a question of how the customer sees it. How important is that to him? So it's a great technology, and is always the case. Once we have something new, we have to get feedback, see how people respond to it, how willing they are also to maybe pay a price for certain options, and it's an exciting new thing out there.
Well, the motorcycle, I should maybe add this, that we actually have two models, very distinctly different models. The one is the K1600GT, which is a Gran Turismo in the pure sense of the word. That means long distance, fast, in comfort, a motorcycle ideally fitted and used in Europe. The next model is the K1600GTL. The L stands for luxury, and it's a motorcycle which is more geared towards the type of riding which is appropriate in the US, much longer distances, much higher emphasis on comfort, especially when we talk about the passenger or the pillion comfort. And the motorcycle has got different ergonomics. The rider sits more upright, the seat is much lower. The seat is also more a saddle seat as opposed to the conventional European type of motorcycle seat. Then there is, for the pillion, there is a backrest and side rests and a different seat. The suspension is softer, the screen is higher, and it is a motorcycle which is really custom tuned for the US market.
Pieter, I was with you just a couple of days ago as you launched the F800R to the US press. And I know that model's been available for something like 18 months in Europe. Can you tell us why it took so long to get to the US shores?
Well, initially, the market in the US for middle-sized naked motorcycles is not big. And we were not convinced that it would be fair to our dealer network to bring a motorcycle into the market which adds to their complexity, but maybe not sell in the desired volume. However, two things swayed us in the meantime. The one was the fabulous success that this motorcycle enjoyed in Europe. It's a runaway success there, and it really competed and took a much bigger share than was expected of that market. And then the second reason why we now decided to bring the motorcycle is we looked at the success that our Superbike, the S1000RR, enjoyed in terms of conquest customers. And we now conquesting more than 85% on that motorcycle. In other words, 85 out of 100 people buying our Superbike haven't had a BMW before. And that is, of course, for us very encouraging, because that brings down the average age of our customer. It brings younger, new people into the brand. And having seen that and understanding now how to get these people to get into the BMW showrooms, we see this motorcycle, the F800R, as a second opportunity to bring a younger and a new customer base into BMW.
I remember you stating at the US press launch that that is one of the goals for the 1000RR, and obviously it's been very successful. And speaking of success, I know you brought in the 1000RR to reach, a younger audience, to gain a younger owner base. Now, you did something you've never done before. You brought in a sport bike to compete with everything on the market, to meet it or surpass all the other bikes in the industry. Now, the bike has won numerous awards, including Bike of the Year. I'd like to know, how have the sales been with this model?
Well, worldwide, it's been one of the biggest success stories we ever probably had. In the US in particular, this motorcycle we brought into the market earlier this year. It was only in the showrooms available from the beginning of March onwards, and it is out of the blocks our best-selling motorcycle. In other words, we sell more BMW S1000RRs today than either GSs or RTs, which is really the forte and the traditional strength of the BMW brand. So this motorcycle has made a huge impact, and it probably added about 20%, if not more, to our total volume.
Well, that's very impressive, as that's 1 year of sales now going into its second year of sales. Speaking of this model, the AMA road racing isn't quite what it used to be, but they're hanging on and trying to make a go of it in this economy. Are there bigger plans for AMA racing from BMW with the 1000RR?
Yeah, it's a question which I want to answer carefully. in the sense that we really want to be in AMA racing. We want to be in the top pinnacle. And unfortunately, our negotiations with the very few teams that we targeted, where we thought we had a very good chance, should they take our motorcycle to win the championship outright, was not successful. It wasn't successful because of the motorcycle. It was more or less successful because, as you know, in that world, it's pretty complex, and there were all sorts of prior commitments. As a consequence, we will be in AMA, but not under the Works BMW banner. We will support privateer teams, but it is really not a full-blown BMW effort as we actually anticipated in the first place.
Okay. Well, what about World Superbike? What's on tap for 2011 with World Superbike?
Well, this is going to be the year, 2011. It's now or never. The motorcycle has already proved itself in the Formulae, which is closer to the standard, and has really swept the boards. So where we compete with motorcycles where you can change very little, there's no doubt that our motorcycle is the fastest on circuits, and that was proved already this year. Next year we'll have to be successful in the pinnacle of the sport, being the Superbike racing championship, and we've got high hopes. You know, we've got Haslam on board now, together with Troy Corser. We did a stunning job for us, and we believe that that combination plus the experience that we've now gained in the meantime will place us very well for the season. But racing remains racing, and there are too many factors to at this stage sort of be sure about success.
Well, we know it's going to be an exciting year. There's absolutely no question about that.